Hey everybody, I just want to talk about NIO and the current things that are going on regarding employees and the addition of adding employees, but also reducing the employees counts as well. Now, I know this has been going on for like 2 or 3 weeks now, where basically NIO wanted to reduce their staff and make a more efficient sales team. I think I read this somewhere like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. But with that being said, I wanted to share my views because it's really important how we view things. Now, in my opinion, this is a really good thing. Okay, so a lot of companies, when they first start out, they reduce their employees depending on the amount of money available, or if they want to become more efficient with their money. So, in like, if they're trying to expand rigorously, then they're or really aggressively, and there's a lot of free money available, like a lot of easy money. Then yes, if easy money is available, then you're going to expand your employee numbers tremendously, as we've seen here. I mean, this is a 1 year growth is 76%. So what is from like 2020 to, gosh, 2022? Well, you can do the math yourself, but this is really important because it's important to understand that employees are very expensive yet very essential to the business. But you want to hire a bunch of people and then weed out the bad people who aren't very efficient towards operations and towards production and revenue and profits, and then reduce your liabilities, right? So that's by cutting employees. So what does this mean? That the company's going to be more profitable. So if you have, like, I don't know, 10 salespeople for each Neo house, okay? If like maybe only half of them are doing good, then you really only need half of them. You don't really need more. You can hire more when the demand increases, but at this moment, maybe they found out that five is the sweet spot, for example, right? So you don't need this many employees, which is going to save Neil a lot of money over time. Now, you may be thinking, oh my gosh, this is bad. Okay, well, it's not bad. And if you're one of those people who thought it was a bad thing, then don't worry. A lot of people did when they looked at Meta. Now, Meta is an example of a company that cut its employees tremendously, right? As the company was trying to expand aggressively, especially during this time where money was so easy and cheap, they expanded aggressively, and then they found out around this time that they didn't need as many employees, right? Because a lot of them were inefficient, so they're cutting the fat out. Let's just pretend you're a bodybuilder and you want your 200 grams of protein and you want 2,000 calories per day. Well, you might reach your 200 grams of protein, but you might ingest maybe 2,700 worth of calories because there's 700 calories of fat. So we cut the fat out, and now you can obtain 200 grams of protein and 200 and 2,000 calorie intake, right? That's what your goal is. So yeah, when you cut these many employees, well, odds are if you're cutting 20,000 employees, then yeah, a lot of them are inefficient. People who don't sell good, people who are irrelevant towards research and development, people who are not necessary as you upgrade your company and your business operations and things like that, factory workers as well. And so at first, I remember when Meta announced that they're cutting employees, everyone is like, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world. The stock's going to go down because it means that Meta needs money. And they're pumping all this bearish news about Meta. And this was going on, if we refer to Zuck's note, that it was around November 9th that he's going to cut about 13% of the employees. And then he ended up cutting more over time. So November 9th, 2022. Okay. November 9th was literally, I mean, gosh, it was like the low, right? It was just around this place. This is the bottom. And so what is this? Like, if we, I mean, it's not the bottom, right, for NIO. Or it could be, right? We don't know. But what is this basically saying? Zuck was saying, okay, we're going to be cutting down the staff because a lot of them are very inefficient. We're paying people who are just taking up our money and resources. So he laid off tons of people and the stock went up over time because, it could be that, like, yeah, the company was growing over time and its revenues were growing too. But it was really hard to justify it because the costs of operations were just so expensive. By cutting out the fat, it justifies that the amount of employees at a new number because they need it for their growing operations, but it reduces the unnecessary spending. So what do I like? How do I look at this? Like, what do I mean exactly? At the start of COVID, the world rapidly moved online. Okay, so yeah, they had a lot of revenue growth. Money was much cheaper and much more available. So yeah, they're gonna be They're gonna be firing a bunch of people that they don't really need, and that's what they did. And at this time, there was a lot of investments in the metaverse that didn't really yield any return on investment from, at least that's what pundits and analysis were saying. So there's a lot of bearish news. Like, everyone thought Meta's going to go bankrupt. Meta's just going to fail. Well, look, the stock price has recovered since then. But if you guys do remember, and I was trading Meta around this time, I remember thinking to myself, oh, okay, this is a good thing. Meta's cutting employees, and there's still a lot of cash on hand, and they're increasing their revenues year over year. Like, this is such a great thing. Why is the market so bearish on this company? So I invested around here, and the company went up over time, because basically, if you're going to be able to produce the same amount of revenues you had, and it's still increasing month over month and year over year, but you're just cutting out costs of operations, and if you're cutting costs of operations, that's a great thing, because it means your profits are going to increase, right? So I just want to talk about that. If this makes news, don't worry. This has been old news for like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it's not only that. I mean, Lee Bin already said he was planning to make the sales team more efficient. And yeah, he's probably going to cut down employee costs, because when you look at this period of time, yeah, you need to increase your staff tremendously for the demand. But, there's always a time to reduce your inefficient employees too, right? Another example I can give you is, like, just so you can visualize it. It's like, if you have 10 people changing a light bulb and you only need 1, then cut 9 people out. You thought you needed 10, but you really don't. So if NIO, and when NIO does tries to size down their sales staff, they can pay these salespeople even more and give them more incentives to sell even harder, to get more creative, and pay them more to attract better talent. Not only that, but it reduces the costs of the operations, which will probably allow the company to at least raise their revenues tremendously, and it could lead them towards profitability even sooner. But it's not even just that, because I don't really care about profitability at this moment. I just want them to do well. But it's more about expanding the company in ways that's efficient, ways that are going to help the future growth of the company. And like, maybe, let's just pretend they do cut off 10 or 20% of the sales force, which is a lot. Maybe, and it's kind of not, if you have like 10 people on the floor, it's really not that much, but it actually is. It's a great thing, okay? Maybe you can hire more people on later to expand your company when you move to the United States, or when you expand onto the Alps force, or when you expand into the mass market, right? Then you can start hiring more employees again to sell the more cost-efficient brands. But basically, when you do this and you lay people off because their employees are not efficient, you can focus on the talent that you have and really cultivate that talent, and then help them build their own teams to transition into like better salespeople and better mentors, right? Because this is a new company. And so when you open up the mass market, you're gonna need people from the more experienced sector to start selling in their mass market. So overall, this is a very bullish thing. It's a very good thing. Just if you just look at the financials, like, you're gonna be cutting costs of your operations and liabilities, and you could be, if your revenues remain the same or increasing, which it has based on the delivery numbers, then that's a good thing. So the deliveries are going to keep increasing, in my opinion, based on the trajectory. When you look at it from a larger time frame, it does seem like NIO is going to be doing well. So yeah, this is a really good thing. You want to reduce your employees. You want to reduce the numbers that you don't need and increase the employees that you do need. It's a very good thing. It's a very, very good thing. So don't worry. When Meta cut down its employees, it was at the very bearish time for the company, but I think people kind of realized over time that it wasn't actually bad at all, right? So I think another thing we need to realize is that the market in general, they tried, the media in Hollywood, they tried to control the narrative. They tried to push consensus that we may not agree with, right? Right, so like they might, like, here's an example. It's like if we said something like um destroying sandcastles are a bad thing, and if like 95% of us agree that destroying sandcastles for no reason is a bad thing, the media will try to say, push the idea that everyone in America thinks that pushing sandcastles down is a good thing, right? But that doesn't mean we agree with that. So it's like the same thing with bearish sentiment towards NIO or any stock, right? They pump bad sentiment, they. So yeah, I really wouldn't worry too much, because when you have this much easy money in the markets, or just for businesses in general, you want to expand your employees, and then you want to like be more efficient over time, and just you want to focus on, like, you want to get as many people as you can, try to weed out the talent, the good ones, and then get rid of the bad ones. So reducing the fats should and could reflect in the stock's price, in my opinion. Just based, if the stock was to actually reflect the financials. Another thing I want to talk about was the Volkswagen agreement, but I'm not going to talk about it too much right now. Maybe that'll be something for later, okay? So anyway, with that being said, this is actually really good news. You want to reduce your employee count when it's not necessary, okay? And you can always add on employees later. Very easy. And with that being said, I hope you all